Good morning. The Circuit Court has ruled on the question of whether the town of Purcellville went through the proper procedures when a grievance panel voted to reinstate Vice Mayor Carl Nett to his job at the police department. The ruling? The Circuit Court will not rule on whether the town of Purcellville went through the proper procedure, etc., etc. For Tuesday, October 28th, it's your Loudoun Now Morning Minute. Thanks for being with us. I'm Rince Green. Chief Circuit Court Judge Douglas L. Fleming Jr. will not determine whether a grievance panel followed proper procedures before it voted to reinstate Purcellville Vice Mayor Carl Nett to his job at the town police department. Nett joined the police department in 2022. He then ran for and was elected to town council in 2024, taking office in January of this year. Then, in April of this year, the police department fired him after an internal investigation by an outside law enforcement agency. Nett filed a grievance with the town, and in June, a 3-member panel met to review the evidence and hear arguments. By town policy, that panel has 1 member selected by the person filing the grievance, 1 member selected by the town manager, and a 3rd member selected by those first 2 members. In this case, the town manager is former Mayor Kwesi Frazier, who campaigned for Nett and his political allies in 2024, and who, as one of their first actions after taking office, the new council majority hired as town manager in January. Frazier and Nett also faced the same felony charges of bid rigging and commercial fraud against the town government related to their meeting with a consultant earlier this year that the town would go on to hire to study the police department. That grievance panel ordered that Nett be reinstated to his job and get back pay and attorney's fees. Town policy also holds that in cases where the town manager has a direct personal involvement, the Loudoun Circuit Court Chief Judge will determine whether the panel followed proper procedures. But in a ruling issued yesterday, Judge Fleming found that the court does not have jurisdiction to make that decision. Fleming wrote that the town has never filed a necessary certification with the clerk of the court that its grievance procedure is in line with state code, which, as he said, would be required by state law.
The town had asked the court to make this decision under a section of state code that allows towns to have their own grievance procedure other than the standard state grievance procedure if they follow certain requirements of this code section. The judge ruled the town had not taken the necessary steps to fall under that code section, that even if they had, they would not be in compliance with that code section, and even if they were, that code section does not actually give the court the authority to make that decision.
Go to loudounnow.com/Morning Minute to check out the whole story. In other news, the Community Foundation for Loudoun and Northern Fauquier counties has launched a new $5 million Loudoun Community Response Initiative to help meet the growing needs in Loudoun County for financial stability, well-being, safety, and long-term security. The program is meant to help make sure local nonprofits will have the resources they need to provide essential services to Loudoun residents. The $5 million comes from the county government. The Board of Supervisors added that to the county budget as a last-minute adjustment earlier this year following concerns about cuts to government programs by the new Federal Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Loudoun County Chair Phyllis Randall said she's open to adding more to the fund if necessary, pointing out that nearly a quarter of Loudoun's working population are federal employees or federal contractors. The first round of grant applications is open now, with grants available from $25,000 to $50,000. Learn more or apply at communityfoundationlf.org/Loudoun Response. As the county government continues its project rewriting zoning regulations for rural Loudoun, some residents are raising concerns about the way those rules are enforced on lodging businesses like bed and breakfasts, as are the owners of those businesses. Specifically, these rules are typically enforced based on complaints rather than some sort of proactive enforcement. A county working group reviewing those ordinances took up regulations on lodgings last week. Residents raised concerns about the noise, traffic, lighting, and environmental impacts, which are intensified by events hosted at short-term lodging facilities. Rural business owners were also there to have their say. One of them, Avis Renshaw, said traditional farming, rural businesses, and bed and breakfasts have coexisted in rural Loudoun for centuries. Yes, this is the same Avis Renshaw who was in the Morning Minute yesterday. Under current rules, those businesses have limits, such as how many special events they can have in a year, how many visitors can go to those events, and how many people can stay at a lodging business. They also have rules like setbacks and hours of operation for private parties. Lodging operators have said tightening those regulations would make running their businesses even more difficult. And they said the complaint-based enforcement really means that those who skirt the regulations and get away with it are rewarded. One person said a bed and breakfast owner reported violations at a nearby short-term rental, which is the category of business that includes things like Airbnbs, and that bed and breakfast owner faced backlash like bad reviews that hurt their business, and even somebody coming over and slashing the furniture on her front porch. Those owners argued that what they need is not more restrictions, but more even enforcement. This work continues, and you can follow along in the story on our website. And Loudoun's wine industry gathered on Friday night at Lansdowne Resort to celebrate their best of the year. And it was a Nett Walsh creation with the little-used Chenin Blanc grape that took the top prize at the 2025 Loudoun Wine Awards. This was the 10th year of the competition and the first year that every entry is required to be made with 100% Loudoun-grown grapes. We've got the full breakdown of the top awarded winemakers and ambassadors and wines in Loudoun in the story on our website, so get the full story on this and all these stories over at loudounnow.com. On today's Get Out Loudoun calendar, head to Lark Brewing Company at 6:30 p.m. tonight for Spooky Trivia Night. Test your knowledge of horror movies, haunted history, and all things Halloween. Try some seasonal craft beverages, and, of course, costumes encouraged. Check out the rest of the events calendar at getoutloudoun.com. And if you like the Morning Minute, next time you stop by one of our wonderful wineries to try their award-winning vintages, tell your winemaker about the podcast and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and it'll be waiting for you there every morning. Okay. Have a great day.